The Submariner is Marvel's first and mightiest mutant character. He's the king of the aquatic superheroes. And Namor the Submariner first emerges from the briny deep in 1939. Namor hangs around in one magazine or another for most of the 20th century. The Submariner is the creation of artist and writer Bill Everett. Namor makes his first appearance in the short-lived timely publication Motion Picture Weekly, and is then reintroduced in Marvel Mystery Comics #1 in the fall of 1939. Prince Namor is born in an undersea kingdom that some years later is identified as the Lost Kingdom, the Lost Underwater Kingdom of Atlantis. Namor is the result of a sexual union between his mother, an Atlantean, and a human explorer named Mackenzie. This gives Namor a mixed genetic code, and Namor is able to live both on land and in the sea. Namor is incredibly strong and can not only swim but can fly. Now, in the second issue, the pointy-eared Namor is a very angry young man when he arrives in Manhattan from his decimated underwater or undersea home, and he is bent on revenge. For example, there's dialogue, "You white devils have persecuted and tormented my people." And he goes on a rampage of destruction in New York City. Now, the Human Torch is a New York City cop, and a confrontation between the two is inevitable. A battle royale rages through the pages of issues number 8 and 9. The superheroes fight ends up in a Mexican standoff in issue number 10. A policewoman, Betty Dean, arranges a truce between the Human Torch and the Submariner, and then becomes Namor's closest friend and love interest. The next time fire and water meet, they are fighting side by side in Marvel Comics number 17. This is in March 1941. They have formed an alliance against Hitler and the Third Reich. Namor is very active during World War II. Namor fights both the Nazis and the Japanese. Now, Namor calms down somewhat after that. Betty, his main squeeze, acts as Namor's conscience, and the Submariner concentrates on crime capers loaded with fights of fantasy and lots of pretty women. Now, creator Bill Everett provides very colorful and aquatic dialogue. For example, jumping jellyfish and pickled penguins. By the late 1940s, circa 1947, Namor's cousin Namora is introduced. She is one of several superwomen that sprouts up around this time. And she aids her quickly tempered cousin and briefly solos in her own magazine. The Namor comic book is canceled in 1949, but there is an attempt by Atlas/Marvel to re-establish Namor in the mid-1950s. In 1954, the Submariner superhero comic book is resurrected. It now adds the communist Red Menace to the list of Namor's targets and enemies. He takes a very strong anti-communist stance that's very noticeable on the covers. His villains and opponents prominently display the hammer and sickle. The new Submariner comic lasts only 10 issues and ends in late 1955. Now, in these 10 issues, Betty Dean is cohabiting. She's living with Namor in Atlantis. And Namora returns for several stories. Now, in 1962, the Submariner rises up again in assorted guest appearances, including some in the Avengers. And he gets his own comic book he gets his own comic book again in 1968. Betty Dean in the 68 comic is now a plump, gray-haired matron, and Namor's daughter, Namorita, is introduced. In the new Namor comic, the Submariner sprouts the Marvel version of Shakespearean dialogue. Now, let's get to Captain America. Captain America is, of course, a living